In the sport of fishing, there are few things I love to do more than catch striped bass while they're schooling on top of the water. I think we've got some of that action for you coming up in the next half hour. And we're going to do it at a place I've never seen before, but a place that's loaded with stripers. Glad you're with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's Fish TV is on the air right now. That is a fish. Oh man, look at this.
It's time for the only program that brings you real-time fishing reports from the Southwest region every week.
Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. Woo!
This is Let's Fish.
Hi everybody, I'm so glad you're with us for this week's episode because we're going to do some exciting striped bass fishing. It's one of my favorite things to do, and we're going to do it at a place that I've never seen before. I'd like to welcome you in to one of South Carolina's premier striper fisheries. This is beautiful Lake Murray. It's located just outside Columbia, South Carolina, and it is loaded with striped bass. And my buddy Jason Bennett, who guides here every day, tells me that the stripers have been busting on top and feeding under birds. So we're going to go out and experience some of that today. There's a bunch of clouds and storms moving in, so next time you see me, I'll be outfitted in all kinds of rain gear. While we're doing that, we're taking you around the region for this week's fishing reports from our expert team of Let's Fish insider reporters from lakes, rivers, and bays right where you live, both saltwater and freshwater. You're in for a treat this week, and I am too, because we're going to be fishing out of my brand new Caymas CX21 boat. This is the top of the line bass boat. It is built solid to last a lifetime of fun fishing, and this one is tricked out with all of the goodies. I've got my Mercury Pro XS 250 on the back. I've got my Lowrance HDS live units, 3 of them on here. Got my Motorguide trolling motor, everything you could possibly want in a fully rigged fishing machine, the Caymas CX21. So right now, this bad boy goes down the boat ramp and into Lake Murray. Next time you see me, I'll be out there hopefully catching stripers. Right now, let's get it started back at the studio and your weekend planner.
Hello, the Lunar tables are predicting fair game fish activity throughout both days this weekend. Peak game fish activity begins at 7:26 on Saturday and 8:28 Sunday morning. Best evening action will begin at 8:03 on Saturday and 9:06 Sunday night. The sun will rise at 6:40 and set at 8:12, and evenings will feature a moon that is 70% visible. Stay with us, we've got fishing reports from across the area on the way, plus Bassmaster elite angler Mark Menendez will stop by to answer your Ask the Pro question. We'll be back in a bit.
Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Mercury. Go boldly. Lowrance, America's #1 fish finder. Lose, feel the difference. And by Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, Alabama. Get our free fishing guide at orangebeach.com.
Here I have come up on the biggest school of birds, loons, the good Murray striper right there. There we go. That's a better one. That's a better one. That's a better pull. All right, welcome back everybody. We've made it out on the lake, on beautiful Lake Murray, and I want you to look in front of me. This is just incredible what's going on here. I have come up on the biggest school of birds, loons, and hopefully stripers. Got a cast right in there. That's a decent fish. I'm going to grab the net back here. Try to not hurt myself. And not break a rod. Didn't even have my net out. I wasn't ready. That's a good start. There is a start at Lake Murray. My first Lake Murray striper for you right there. And I wish I could get back out there because the fish are just everywhere. But there's a good start. Look how fat that fish is. Very healthy. Beautiful fish. Well, I'm going to make another cast while I'm giving you some information about Lake Murray. Here we go. that I got a cast in there and he just bit it immediately. Well, let me tell you about Lake Murray. Lake Murray is a giant lake. It's 50,000 surface acres. It's about 41 miles long and 14 miles wide at its widest point. And South Carolina DNR has just done a great job of keeping a healthy striper population in this lake. It's got lots of them. It's got some big ones, got medium-sized ones, small ones. The lake is very deep. Here comes this fish. The lake is 180 feet deep. I saw some water down by the dam that was that deep. And the water's clear. Oh, look at that. There we go. And it's just a perfect setup for stripers. It's a hydroelectric generating lake. Got generators down at the dam. There's a good Murray striper right there. And man, this place is incredible. There's some boats around here fishing. Everybody seems to be catching them.
Hey folks, Captain Greg Verm here for this week's Upper Texas Coastal Report. I'm going to start this report right here in Freeport and talk speckled trout. Hey, water temps are up and we're catching solid specks jumping out of the boat, wade fishing using soft plastics and top waters. San Luis Pass is really my favorite area right now. We have nice tide runners showing up and these specks are mean and big. Now if you want to stay in the boat, hey, Christmas and Bastrop Bays are great for drifting using live shrimp under a popping cork. Now let's move up the coast and talk Galveston. Hey, East Bay is great for speckled trout and redfish around Yates and Seavers. Also the jetties, they're slam full of nice specks and slot reds. Both north and south jetties are holding these fish. Another area that is producing big speckled trout, the Galveston Causeway. Live shrimp under a popping cork, can't beat it. Hey, if you want to get away and fish with me, either wade fishing or out of the boat, give me a call. Check out our websites for our May fishing and lodging specials. Hey, let's fish.
There's one. That feels like a better pull. Streaking. Not very big. But it's a striper and he's a fatty. Gotta be very careful with them once you get them in the boat. Well, I'm learning something. I've been out here for a while and these fish have been schooling and under the birds and blowing up on top, and I'm just having trouble catching them. And I was throwing normal size baits. I was throwing a big Strike King Sexy Shad, which is about 5 inches long, and I was throwing a big topwater bait, a cigar type bait. Everything was too big, and so I finally picked up a smaller size bait. That's a little red eye shad. A lot of times if they're feeding on small baits, you're just not going to get them to hit a bigger one, and you can throw in the middle of a school all you want to and they're just not going to hit it. But a lot of times if you'll downsize, go to something smaller that more matches what they're eating. They're eating those blueback herring, and evidently the hatch of those, the spawn of those, is not very big. They haven't grown up much yet. So downsize, maybe that'll work. Let's see if we can catch one. And we are in a bunch of stripers. If you throw anything here that resembles something chrome, something white, welcome back everybody to beautiful Lake Murray, South Carolina. We're out doing some striper fishing today on my first trip here. Never seen the lake before, never made a cast on it until today. But we are in a bunch of stripers. Let's see if I can get this one up. This one doesn't feel as big. Nope, just an average size fish. These fish eat a bait, a little bait called a blueback herring. And the lake is loaded with them. And so if you throw anything here that resembles something chrome, something white, something that looks like a herring, the fish will eat it. I've got 2 or 3 baits out here that I'm trying. I'm starting off with a spoon. It's a heavy spoon. It's about a 1 ounce CC jigging spoon, and I'm just leaving my reel open, leaving my button punch and letting it go down about maybe 20 feet or so, and then I'm swimming it in, steady retrieve, and then push that button again, let it go back, let it go down about 20 feet or so. These fish are not deep. We're in deep water. We're in 80 feet of water. There he is. But the fish are up on top, and they're pushing these herring to the surface. And what you're seeing with all these birds and all these loons is they just wait for the stripers to come underneath and push the school up. And then the loons dive down and eat them, and then once the herring get all the way to the surface, the gulls dive down and eat them as well. Just another average size fish right there. Nothing giant, but a lot of fun to catch, and it's just one right after the next. Well, I'm going to do battle with this fish, get him off, and then I'm going to try a couple of, they'll cut you. They've got a gill plate that'll cut you. You got to be careful. Try a few other baits and see what else might catch one too. This is a lot of fun right here. Lake Murray, South Carolina. Let me get you some of this.
Hey, although I don't have a crystal ball, I'm going to predict that between now and the full moon on May 7th is going to be one of the very best fishing periods for all species all across the state of Oklahoma. Now, the last couple of weeks, the fishing's been good really throughout the state, but there's still a lot of fish that are far from the banks, anywhere from 10 to 20 foot of water, and really haven't come to shore yet. Now, some guys are catching bass and crappie shallow, but there's still a lot of fish that haven't come in on that wave, and I think that next full moon coming up, the period before that's going to be the very best. But if I was going to pick a lake I wanted to make an excursion to during that period, it'd be Fort Cobb. My good fishing buddy Scott Porter from Shamrock introduced me to that lake a few years ago. Man, it's got it all. And what's cool about this time frame, you can catch walleye or saugeye as well as your white bass, your crappie, and your bass. Stay safe and healthy, and don't forget, you can't catch them if you don't go.
Hey friends, Captain Kevin Broussard here with Let's Fish, talking Southwest Louisiana right now. Tell you what, went out and practiced a little social distancing today with the wife, the family, the in-laws. Tell you what, caught us our limit of crabs, fished a little bit, got a nice little mess of trout and redfish. Out there on the water for a few hours, live shrimp for the fish. Tell you what, chicken quarters for the crabs. On the other side of things, bass fishing in Toledo Bend doing great right now. The white perch moving deeper over your brush piles. The live shiners seem to be the key there, 20, 25 foot of water. Right now, be safe, get out there, social distance, get on the water and enjoy the beautiful summertime. Captain Kevin Broussard here for Let's Fish, saying happy fishing and may God bless.
Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Motorguide Tour Pro, cable steer motor with GPS anchor. Waypoint Marine, the Gulf Coast's leading saltwater boating specialist. Strike King, Taiwan On, and by Low Boats. Welcome to Low Country.
This striper is right here. Look at the belly on that striper. That's a fat dude right there. Swim it, he's gutting it. He got it. Another striper. And he's swimming at the boat. Catch up to him. Little one. Man, thousands of those. These fish are so wide and fat. I want to show you something. First of all, I want to get this one loose without getting cut, which I just did. Let him go back. I want to show you another one that I caught that had a huge fat belly. Just a quick look at it. And then I want to mention that these fish, right now they've pushed up into about 35 to 45 feet of water. I was catching them in 80 feet. The depth does not matter. What matters is where the bait is. And I want to show you my screen of my Lowrance HDS Live 12-inch screen. Just a beautiful picture there, and that is every fisherman's dream what you're looking at. Those are all stripers loaded up across that screen, and they're all coming up chasing these herring to the surface, and you just kind of idle around until you see them on your screen, or you see these birds or the loons diving. The loons are the ones that are the real deadly creatures because they can dive down. The seagulls have to wait until the bait fish gets pushed all the way to the surface. But those loons, they can dive down. I don't know how deep they can dive, but they can go down after the bait. So a poor herring doesn't have a chance on this lake. Not with all these fish and all these loons and all these gulls.
Hi folks, this week's Lone Star Lakes brought to you once again by Fort Worth Fishing. They work several North Texas lakes and they'll get you on the crappie. Now this week we're going to start at Lake Whitney. It's known for stripers and sand bass, but we're going against the grain. We're going to fish the largemouths because they're on fire right now. You have a couple of different options. Main lake fishing, look for flooded brush and trees that are inundated where you can throw your different baits like top waters and Senkos and spinner baits. Run those around that thick cover, or you can get back up into the creeks and flip and pitch. Now right next door, Lake Aquila's also been on fire, and the crappie there are on those brush piles. They've moved out post-spawn and they're starting to gang up in that little bit deeper water. You'll use your standard crappie stuff, your minnows, your crappie jigs. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Fort Worth Fishing. Be sure and check us out on Facebook, Lone Star Lakes.
Well, things have died down a lot since you saw me last. All the birds have sat down on the water. The loons have stopped diving. That doesn't mean the fish have left. And so what I'm doing is just still sitting in the same area. There's a bite right there. And casting out in the exact same general area where all those birds were diving and all those loons were diving. And usually the fish don't leave. And if you'll just kind of hang around and stay, a lot of times it pays off. And that time it did with a fat one. I want you to look at how fat this striper is right here. Look at the belly on that striper. That's a fat dude right there. Well, it's paid off because I didn't leave. And the interesting thing is, those birds quit diving, the loons settled down, and all the boats that were around us have left. And it just left me all by myself out here. And that's just a huge little key, that if you'll just hang around when you're in schooling fish, those fish, they push those herring to the surface and they feed on them viciously. The birds dive out and the loons eat them. And then the fish kind of get their fill and the fish kind of dive back down. Consequently, the birds stop diving and people think, well, they've just quit. You can still catch them. One quick little tip on schooling fish like this.
Watch our latest episode or catch up on past episodes on our website at letsfishtv.com. Be sure to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter for new fishing videos every day. And download the free Waypoint TV app to get all the latest episodes every week on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Let's Fish TV is proudly backed by Bobby Garland Crappie Baits and the original Baby Shad and new Slab Huntar Minnow. Glacier Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades. Balls Out. Made in the USA. Heavy-duty mounts for your fish finders. And by Caymas Boats. Tomorrow's tournament boat today.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's get right to your Ask the Pro question for this week. Pat wants to know, what is your favorite thing to do when you are not fishing? For an answer, we asked Bassmaster Elite Angler Mark Menendez.
When I'm home, off the road, I spend a lot of time with my girlfriend exercising. She's an exercise instructor, so I've got good tips. And one of the biggest tips I can give all fishermen is to explore yoga. Very basic yoga poses, Easy stuff, down dog, stretches, planks, things like that. It helps a bunch, and it'll make your fishing a lot better.
Thank you, Mark. If you want some help from one of the pros, simply go to letsfishtv.com and follow the Ask the Pro link to submit a question. Now it's time to find out who wins this week's Big Catch of the Week.
We're back at the boat ramp at Lake Murray, South Carolina, home of lots of stripers, and it's time right now for this week's winner in the Big Catch of the Week contest. He's Taylor Lankford of Austin, Texas, with an 11-pound largemouth bass he caught at Lady Bird Lake in Texas. If you'd like a chance to have you and your big fish shown on television, just go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/letsfishtv. Find our Big Catch post, usually from the past Tuesday. We always put them up on Tuesdays, and follow the instructions to enter your photo. There is some very specific gear that you'll need to use if you want to chase around some of the schooling striped bass like we did on this week's episode. Number one, you need a long casting reel to reach way out and hit those schools under those birds. This is the Lew's Tournament MP Baitcast reel. It will haul it out there a mile, and it's fully adjustable. On the left-hand side of the reel, you can adjust the anti-backlash very loose for a super long cast. And as far as the baits are concerned, it begins with a 3/4 or 1 ounce jigging spoon to let it sink way down and cast it a long ways under those birds. And if they're right up on top, you can use a Strike King Hard Knock, a dog walking topwater bait with a loud knocking action that'll call them right up to the surface. Or if they're down a little under the surface, you can use the Strike King Red Eye Shad 2-tap. It'll go 5, 6, 7 feet deep depending on the speed you retrieve it. A couple of other items I want to show you. First of all, if you're striper fishing, you always want to use a landing net. A striped bass is the most likely fish in freshwater to drill a hook right into your thumb. Scoop the landing net underneath them before you bring them in the boat for safety. And I always use my StowMaster Tournament Series nets. They're the best ones I've found on the market. Finally, I want to show you my Balzout mount. This is the mount that attaches my fish finders to my boats on all 3 of the boats we use here on the Let's Fish TV show. They are the sturdiest brackets, the sturdiest mounts that I have found in all my years of doing this. They are rock solid, even in big waves. They will take a pounding out there on the water and hold your fish finder perfectly solid. And they come in a wide variety of colors. You can perfectly match your mount to your boat, just like we did the beautiful red and black color to our red and black Caymas CX21 bass boat. This version of Stuff That Matters is a sequel from one I did a few years ago, but I love it. It goes something like this: life is messy, nobody gets out clean. Now, I made that one up, but it's absolutely true. I have found that out myself. If we think we're going to live this whole life in our little dream world where everything works out perfectly, well, you and I've got another thing coming. It's just not the way it works. Sometimes stuff just gets jacked up. I love the slogan at the church I belong to. It says, "No perfect people allowed." That's right, we're all just a bunch of imperfect people trying to get through this thing the best way we know how. So when you screw up, you do 3 or 4 key things. Number one, you take responsibility for your own foul-ups. Secondly, you live with it. Thirdly, you learn from it. And fourthly, you move on with your life to try to make a better choice the next time. If you'd like to plan and book your very own striped bass fishing trip to one of South Carolina's best striper lakes here at Lake Murray, you can contact my buddy Jason Bennett. The contact information you see at the bottom of your screen. He's got the boat, the tackle, everything you need for a fun fishing trip for you and your family or your friends right here outside Columbia, South Carolina. We had a great time here. We'll see you next week. Till then, I'm Barry Stokes saying, let's fish, everybody. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you want to see more fishing tips, how-to videos, big fish catches, and full episodes of our Let's Fish TV show, be sure to subscribe right here to our YouTube channel. You can also like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Good fishing out there.